Sportscast presents Hoops Talk, hosted by Alabama basketball legend Erwin Dudley and Sportscast contributor Ryan Christa. All basketball, from college basketball to the NBA. Listen to Sportscast Hoops Talk on digital radio, on the app, on your smart speaker, on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch.tv, and Facebook. Sportscast Hoops Talk. Rhythm, debate, layup, and dunk. Sports Talk Hoops Talk.
Welcome to Hoops Talk, and another edition here on April 23rd, 2022. I am Ryan Christa. I'm joined by Erwin Dudley, and we're talking NBA playoffs. Please follow us again before we get going on all our social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Twitch TV, Instagram. And if you please download us on Apple Podcasts and leave a ratings and review, and we will greatly appreciate that. We're here talking NBA playoffs here this week. A lot going on. Erwin, we took a week off here for Easter, but a lot to digest here going on. But before we get going here, we have other things going on here in the sports cast here, because we have NFL draft coming up on Thursday night with the first round. We have some special shows. First tomorrow is Santiago Leone and Joey Toscalana, who is formerly known as Joey Bagadonis in the podcast world. He is always a good listen, especially if you're a Steelers fan. Then Wednesday, those who are big into mock drafts, big into college football, Tyler Turner and a couple other contributors will be doing a mock draft show, and that's at 9 p.m. And then we also have draft day coverage, all week, and post-draft analysis. So a lot happening here in the Sportscast with the NFL draft coming up. But tonight we're talking NBA playoffs. I'm here with my man Erwin Dudley.
What's going on?
Not much. We had a little technical difficulties for those who are watching live. I apologize for that. We'll get going here. Eastern Conference, big series. Yeah, I think everyone is waiting to see, the New Jersey Nets, one of the front runners to win the NBA championship, started with a big three of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. By the beginning of the season, we had the vaccination debate here at Irvin. We couldn't play for a lot of this year, home games. First he wasn't playing all, then just away games. Now finally, the end of the season, he could play home games. And then we had the trade, between where they shipped Harden out for Ben Simmons, who has yet to make his Nets debut and doesn't look like he will this year. So it's kind of been a little bit of a dumpster fire, the New Jersey, Brooklyn Nets. I'm sorry, old school there. Kind of running into a buzzsaw in Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics. What are your thoughts on this series?
I mean, I think just like a lot of people, thought, I think just like a lot of people thought that the Nets and the Celtics series that was going to be a lot tougher series, with the with superstar talent that both teams have. But we knew coming in that the Nets didn't play a lot of defense, so that was the one thing that kind of that always was a question mark for them, and it shows, and especially in the playoffs when the playoffs you can score, but you have to be able to play defense, and that's one of the things that the Nets they don't do well. Even going back to last year, they talked about how they didn't play defense, and it's the same thing this year. And you have the Boston Celtics who can score, and then they can play really good defense, tops in the league. So I mean those are the results. On 3-0. Nobody expected them to get swept. I thought at least go 6 games, maybe 7 games. But I think that they're gonna finish them off. Go ahead, they're gonna sweep them, and I think that'll a lot of people say talk about how KD is the best player in the world and all that stuff like that. I think that'll put some of that rest or whatever for this year as him being the best player in the world. With him not being able to lead a team, him pretty much being, the alpha dog on the team and not being able to take a team to the playoffs and win a title. So I think that'll kind of calm down some of that talk about that.
Yeah, definitely not the shining moment for KD. Kyrie, really been kind of limited in their production, especially in the second half of these games. Tatum's really taken over. Ime Udoka's, I think, out coaching Steve Nash here. There's a lot of things in the favor of the Celtics. Absolutely.
He don't make any adjustments.
It's just really interesting to see, how the Celtics, were an average team at best halfway through this year, and now, on the verge of sweeping the Nets. We'll see what kind of the Nets have tomorrow night. We're seeing the first sighting of Ben Simmons, but this is kind of delayed that, which is, I think, a lot to do with more or less, him not really wanting to push it when it's 3-0. So this team, we'll see next year, with a whole off season, hopefully together, let's see if they keep this team together, though. We'll see what, Sean Marks and the GM of the Nets wants to do going forward, if they want to make a coaching change. Well, I something's got to change. I think they got to build, a little bit around this, the role players. I think they have some decent ones, a good player, they got Andre Drummond. This ain't some of those guys that continuously show up, on a night-in-night basis. Also in the Eastern Conference, another series, we just won final, and that's the Heat beating the Hawks, going up 3-1. Game 4, Hawks, winners of the play-in, had a lot of magic going into this year, but kind of run into their own little brick wall known as the Miami Heat, kind of reminding me, Erwin, of the mid-90s Miami Heats of Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, P.J. Brown, Santiago, I know you're listening out there, you remember those teams, the battles with the Knicks, where, they don't necessarily have that big superstar, but they're unselfish, and each night another player goes out there and, gets a job done. I think I have a borderline superstar in Jimmy Butler, but, just a really good player. But they win on both sides of, yes. I think Santiago just said Dan Marley, another player off that team.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this series? Trae Young had that game winner Friday night. We thought that might carry over to tonight, but this didn't really show up after the midway through the second quarter. Kind of got ran out of their home arena. So probably one more game, I think, and you're thinking that too in this series before the Heat move on to the semis, Eastern Conference semis.
Yeah, they'll go out. Atlanta, they'll go down to South Beach and they'll party a little bit, and Miami, they'll finish them off. But then they won't win another game. I think the all the win is going out of their cell. If they had came back and defended home court tonight, then it would have been something different in Miami. But I don't see them. They're not going to come back. They're not going to come back. Sorry. So this series is over with.
Yeah. I think we both agree. I'm not sure exactly what the Hawks need to do in the offseason. They got a lot of good young players. Hopefully we'll see if they keep that core together. Or, they try to get, some more veterans around there, to kind of build around, the Hunter and Trae Young and, we'll see what, John Collins. So,
I think
we move on to, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was going to say they definitely, they had some injuries and stuff, which every team, they have injuries. But then the two, you have to have guys, once you do have a player that goes down, you have to have guys that step in that are able to step into that role and kind of fill that void until your star or your superstar gets back. And so that's one thing that they don't have. They have they just have some older like Gallinari. I like Gallinari, but Gallinari is older, and Gallinari is not the Gallinari of old. So it's a lot. It's a lot on him as well. Bogdanovich, I mean, he was starting at one point and he comes off the bench. I mean, he plays well, but again, I think that they're going to have to. I think they're definitely going to have to address their bench a little bit more.
We said somebody said Ben Simmons to the Hawks. I will see if Ben Simmons does something. I don't think the Nets are going to be trading him.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll
that baggage.
see about that. So we both kind of see the Hawks moving on. The team that they'll probably end up be playing will be the Philadelphia 76ers, who are up 3-1 on the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors, able to stave off elimination yesterday in Toronto. Kind of a gutsy, lay it on a line, but another kind of delaying inevitable with that series. What have you seen from the 76ers, you've liked, we've both been banging that drum about Joel Embiid being the MVP. Again, kind of carrying this team in this round, with the help of, I think a blooming superstar in Tyrese Maxey, alongside, previously mentioned James Harden. What have they done against the Raptors to be able to get to this point?
Embiid. I mean, he's been the guy that for an entire year for the Sixers that has been able to keep them afloat, even when the whole fiasco and all that stuff that went on with Ben Simmons. He wasn't playing and all that stuff. Embiid, he continued to play. He continued to produce for the team, and he basically put the team on his back. Now that they've made the trade, you have James Harden coming over. Well, the one person that's really taking a step or two forward is Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey has been playing really well for him. And you saw that when James Harden first came over. He was kind of giving Maxey some input, like, hey, take over the game, do this from the bench and stuff. And that's what Maxey did. And Maxey, he's continued to keep his foot on, his foot on the pedal. He's a young player, and he's going to continue to get better. So. But again, you're still going to need James Harden to be the Harden that closest to the Harden of old as possible. Because again, once you run up on those teams as you get closer to the Eastern Conference Final, you're going to run up on teams that are definitely more like, for example, they end up playing. For example, they play Boston, or if they play Miami, those teams right there. They play defense, and so they're gonna need every point from Harden, in order for them to advance. Tobias Harris is gonna have to play well. He's gonna have to play well. He's played well. He's been starting to play well. He got paid, but also with Doc Rivers coming over. I think his game is taking off. I think before Doc Rivers was there, he kind of struggled some, but once Doc Rivers came over to Philadelphia, that kind of helped his game a lot. He played for him when he was with the Clippers, and so they helped him out a lot with him coming over. But again, they're gonna need more offense, especially when they went up on Miami or Boston, because they play really good defense.
Absolutely, Raptors a nice story. I just really couldn't handle Joel Embiid. Pascal Siakam's a good player. They got a lot of good pieces in Toronto, and I think they'll be okay. Fred VanVleet, Siakam, Gary Trent Jr. is a good player they found, and obviously this Rookie of the Year, Scotty Barnes. So future's looking bright for the Raptors. Just a good team, had a good year. Just when the playoffs are a different animal, and so we kind of see the Sixers moving on. One more series. It looks like it's inevitably over in the Eastern Conference, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks over the Chicago Bulls. After today's rout in Chicago, looks like season maybe on over for the Bulls here coming up. Next game here in Milwaukee. The Bucks are kind of turning on. I think last little bit's been waiting for the playoffs. Eager to defend their championship. team. It's got Giante Nupus. I mean, this team just shoots the ball. A lot of threes and they shoot it well. You really be Kyington, Holiday, Middleton, and these are Lopez, Portis, Grayson Allen. The hard nose. They got going, and then the Bulls. To myself, great start. Lonzo Ball was, when he was healthy. Until his injury, this team was rolling. They got a lot of players. Some players, who really don't have any playoff experience. Zach Levine, not much playoff experience. Even a Nicholas Vucevic, who has played a lot of years in the NBA, played in Orlando, which had very little playoff experience.
Exactly, and
DeRozan probably
that's
the guy.
Difference. That's the difference.
So you got a lot of good players. So.
Yeah, that's
not there yet.
No, they're not there yet. I mean, if you just go back to the regular, the regular season coming down coming down the stretch, they couldn't beat any of the top Eastern teams, Western teams. So they knew that coming into it. Then you come up against the NBA champions. They don't have enough. I think they're outmatched. I mean, they played Antetokounmpo. They played him at the 5 position at times. And there's nothing they can do about it. He's been the MVP of the league. He's a champion. He's an NBA champion for a reason. And so he's one of the top talents, one of the top superstars in the NBA as well. So again, it's a good thing for Chicago to get a taste of the NBA playoffs. And so now, they can go and build on this right here. They can go ahead and build on this success that they've had this year with them even making the playoff.
Yeah, like another team. I think Chicago is line of good season, good building blocks for Billy Donovan's doing.
Oh yeah,
just you gotta keep healthy, like you said. Injuries matter. Matchups matter.
Yes,
Bucks, I don't think we're great matchups. For the Bulls, So we not much is there's not much intrigue going on in the Eastern Conference because I think we kind of knew who the 4 best teams are, and those 4 best teams are ready to move. 4 complete teams. I think the Nets have some great talent, but obviously, shown in these game series, they're not up to the Celtics level. Let's go to the Western Conference. We'll start at the top with Suns, Pelicans. Really, what's keeping the Pelicans in the series is the injury that happened to Devin Booker.
Yeah.
I mean, guy scores 31 points in the first half and leaves the game. Cause for concern for the Suns. I think we both agree they'll probably get through the Pelicans no matter what. Pelicans are just this feisty team. A team that started off, I think, 1-14. If they didn't have that, if they didn't have that slow start, this is a team that probably didn't have to go to the playoff. I think they're, but you gotta look for this team to be a factor next year, especially in Zion Williamson coming back. I think the trade of the year probably there's 2 trades that I think we'll talk about them a little bit. Getting Dinwiddie, but I think get CJ McCollum coming over to the Pelicans, add a scorer. With Ingram. Now they kind of just building that identity in that Pelicans, but. I still, when the Suns get healthy, hopefully Booker, gets healthy. This team just built for the playoffs. Built, with leadership, veteran guys, Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, Bridges. Just kind of, the depth of this team. It's gonna be hard for anybody to get past it. What's your thoughts on this series?
I mean, like you said. With the Pelicans, with them getting McCollum, that's an added score for them, and I think that definitely helps them now, and it helped them, coming down the stretch of the regular season. But again, the main concern is especially for the Suns is Devin Booker. I think, like you said, I think that they can definitely get past. They can definitely get past the Pelicans. They have enough. It won't be a cakewalk because they do have some scores. They do have some players. And when you listen to a guy like Devin Booker, especially during the playoff, it's a total different type of basketball. And they've missed. Booker's missed time during the regular season. Chris Paul has missed time during the regular season, so they know how to play without those guys. But again, it's different. It's totally different when you're playing against. You're playing against the same team over and over again, and you're trying to. And you have a young team that's scrappy, like the Pelicans, and they definitely have some fire in them. Especially after getting win. So you'll see, but I definitely think that the Suns they got the win. I don't think that the Pelicans will beat them unless it's some surprises. It's some surprises can happen now, but I don't see them. I don't see them taking them to a 7-game series or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I think we're agreed. That sense, no matter what, we'll get through the Pelicans. On to the next round. Against a really interesting series. Between the Jazz and Mavericks. Series biggest headline. Probably is Luka Doncic's injury heading into the playoffs. When he was going to come back. But biggest surprise is probably the Mavericks' ability to get 2 out of 3 wins while Luka was gone, to kind of give them a chance in the series. So my biggest headliner in this series is
two
players.
Didn't expect that. You didn't even expect that, and you're a Mavericks fan. You didn't expect them to win 2 games.
No, but I do believe in a player. Look at Mrs. Time. He's off the. Probably one of his. He's got some bad ankle. Always. I've said pretty much the whole league dealt with COVID this year. So he missed some extended time. One player that's always kind of there every night and grinds away is that Jaylen Brunson.
Yes, sir.
Kind of in the playoffs. And is able to lead them. Averaging 29 points in this year in the playoffs. And also ability for the Mavericks, other players to kind of hit the 3-point ball. Maxi Kleber, guy who struggled for the last month and a half, hitting the ball, he's coming. Got Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock. So a lot of role players stepping up, giving him a chance. So going into yesterday up 2-1, Luka coming back. As a Maverick fan, very excited. For the possibility of going up 3-1. Battle back from 15-point, game. To come back and take the lead up, Luka hits a 3, about 35, 40 seconds left to go up by 4. And unfortunately, weren't able to close the door. Mitchell gets an and 1. To pull him within 1, and Powell misses 2 free throws, and then, Mitchell hitting Gobert, for a wide open slam dunk. To me, the player I look in the game, is really different. They really no answer for is that's Rudy Gobert. The Mavericks aren't a really big team. Always struggle on the defensive rebounding side. So Rudy Gobert's kind of having a field day. Ironically,
but Rudy Gobert's not. He's. I mean, he can get some rebounds, whatever. But again, he's still ineffective as a whole. It's the way that the Mavericks are playing. The Mavericks bigs are stepping out and they're spreading the court. So he has to come out. He has to step out and guard. If he don't step out and guard, if they're making shots, then that definitely puts it makes it harder for the Utah Jazz. And so guards are able, and the guards have to take some pride as well. They have to step up and try to play better one-on-one defense because again, their whole thing is they're trying to drive in and kick out, and that's the philosophy. That's the way Jason Kidd wants to play this series. Then they're just going to have to, if they want to, stay in the series, they're just going to have to. The guards are going to have to step up and play better, better one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a man. Like I said, the 4s and 5s, the Mavericks able to hit 3-pointers. Basically Rudy Gobert ineffective. As a defensive rebounder, but revert in the same side. The undersized 4 or 5 of the Mavericks are having a hard time keeping Gobert off the boards. And then yesterday, Donovan Mitchell, has kind of carried the Jazz because a lot of the other guys, the Jazz role players, secondary options, haven't really performed at the usual. Donovan Mitchell up 30 points a game, drew a double team, closing seconds of the game and is able to hit Gobert, which is ironic because all you've heard is the turmoil. It is, you can the Gorbert Mitchell relationship. It's ending probably in unless there's a big championship run, it seems like it's ending in a mutual divorce at the end of the season. Probably Goldberg most likely being shipped out. To kind of keep the commodity of the team. But so we'll see what happens tomorrow night's big game 5 in the series. Probably winner of this game tomorrow night is probably the winner of the series. Winner of game 5 is win a high percentage of this. So what's your thoughts on this series? Who are you going to see winning this game in the series?
Oh man, Dallas is going back home. Luca had a good game yesterday. I think he ended up with 31. Luca
30 points.
Yeah. So he's Luca. He ain't missed a step, even with him having a calf strain, being out for a couple of games with a calf strain. I've dealt with calf strains, pretty much my whole career, and those things they're hard to get over because any sudden movement, you can re-aggravate it just like that. And for him to come out and play some significant minutes and play well, just hoping that that didn't slow him down or hinder him from the next game. But with that being said, I'll give the edge to Dallas. Dallas has been playing well at home. The Utah, they don't. I mean, Utah really don't have. I think Utah they was fighting for their life this last game, and they ended up winning. But again, Dallas plays very different at home, and again with Luka being back, I think that they'll get the job done.
Yeah, I hoping agreeing with that. So let's move to another 2-2 series, and that's the Timberwolves and Grizzlies. Two young and up and coming teams. Really playing some entertaining basketball games. Both teams are extremely gifted offensively. Two teams I don't think were in line to win a championship this year, but really fun matchup. Timberwolves taking this game, last night, to even up the series, 2-2. What was interesting, the other night, game 3, the Wolves blew a huge lead, so the 42 of the Timberwolves have come out and still, fight and get that victory, and kind of shows the toughness. Karl-Anthony Towns leading them, being that veteran on this team full of young players. What are your thoughts on this series, and who do you see moving on?
Man, it's a good series. I'm gonna go with Memphis just because Memphis, actually have been playing, play pretty solid over all around basketball. Again, I like them, but the one thing that I don't like about I'm gonna go switch it over to Minnesota is Karl-Anthony Towns. Like he's not being the dominant force that he should be. I mean, he had a good game last night, but the the game before that, he ended up only with 8 points. And if he wants to be, if he's supposed to be a superstar of the team, he's supposed to be, they basically the catalyst, or they've been building around, or he's been there the longest, out of Edwards and all those guys who's supposed to be stars on the team. Then he has to step up and play a whole lot better. Again, he wants to be, if he wants to be the type of player or a superstar, then he has to play better. Especially in the playoff, he can't end up with 8 points or whatever as a superstar. He has to take over the game at some point. But again, I'm gonna ride with Memphis. I just think that they're playing overall spending. They're going back. They'll be going back home. So I'm gonna give them that. I'm gonna give them that edge definitely to Memphis.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Memphis probably a little bit more overall talent, a little more better team. Memphis is a really interesting team. They've really done well in drafting and bringing this team together. Not just John Morant, but Dylan Brooks, Jared Jackson, Desmond Bain. These are all, goodness, they're all under 23, 24 years old. Like, they can keep this core together, and I think Taylor Jenkins is an underrated coach that built, this team, I think they rely on what they're good at, and that's their athleticism and running. They don't,
Mm-hmm.
other than Desmond Bain, there's really no guys out there you're going to take and shoot the ball really great. So, they go out there and they're the fastest team in the NBA tempo wise.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to get up shots, quick as possible, and John Morant has kind of been, every time I turn the game on, his must see TV, didn't have a great
Yes,
game the
sir.
other night, 4 for 13. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
he leads the league in points in the paint, as a guard. So that's to tell you
Yeah.
anything about his ability, to get to the paint. So, one last series to go over in the West, and that's a game that came down the wire, which almost led to a sweep, but that's the Warriors up 3-1 over the Nuggets. This is kind of resembling the Warriors team that we thought we were going to see all year, like with Curry, coming back. It doesn't seem like he's missed a beat, Thompson playing well, Green's, putting that defense on the bat, and then I think, the biggest star of the playoffs that might be Jordan Poole coming,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Man, he's been
maybe a
playing
guy,
lights
maybe not the
out.
biggest star,
Boy.
but the guy, introducing himself to most people who haven't seen him play, wow, I I think this, if the Warriors keep this up, they might, make a run with the, Suns, in the Western Conference Final. What's your thoughts?
Man, I think I'm shocked and surprised, just like everybody else. Man, Jordan Poole's been playing. He's been playing great. I think that if he hadn't been playing as well as he has been playing, definitely Steph he would already broken the starting lineup. Which is not saying that he won't. And he probably will break the starting lineup next game. But man, Jordan Poole has been playing so good. Um, Another guy that's been playing well for the Warriors is Draymond Green, especially on defense on Jokic. I mean, he's been harassing them. He's been playing physical with them, and Jokic said he hadn't looked or hadn't been the same type of player that he's been, the course of the season. He's been frustrated. His shots are not falling. He's not being able to get to the basket like he wants to. He's not being able he's not even been able to rebound. So he's been struggling a lot, and you have to credit a lot of that to Draymond Green. He's been playing well, but again, I see that series coming to an end. I see that series coming to the end with the Warriors winning. Again, they fall hard. Denver, they fall hard. Being at home, and so, but again, they go back to Golden State. The series will be over with. There's not even a doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement. This is kind of where we go back to the Raptors, gutsy effort, doesn't want to be swept at home. But I feel like the Nuggets left everything on the court to get that victory, just like you said, been kind of he's doing everything he can. I think they're just limited, around him right now. They need,
Yeah, of course.
next
Murray,
year
they need
getting
Murray.
Murray.
Yeah.
They need Murray. They need Porter Jr. And then those guys that kind of been stepping up all year, keeping his team afloat. A Barton, um, Gordon. They'll be better because of Murray and Porter being back. Uh, So, I think the future's okay for the Nuggets, but, this is the Warriors' time. This is the Warriors. I think we saw glimpses of this year, but kind of seemed like the wheels are falling off there, towards the end of the season.
Hmm.
When Curry got hurt, is he going to come back? Is he going to come back the same player? Yes, he has. And,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
so he's a baller, Curry, I think the fact you held him out, I think, uh, basically, and they're trying not to jive with the team, him coming off the bench, but well, they're gonna put it together. This will be we're setting up for some really good conference semifinals here. you kind of got the quantity, in this first round, a lot of games, but we're going to get some quality here next week, when the conference
Oh yeah.
semis start.
Hmm.
We're going to see, some high level basketball. Hopefully, we'll probably have right now. I think really only series I've seen going 6-7 games is probably the Jazz, Mavericks, and Grizzlies, Timberwolves. Other than that, the most series I think will be over in 5 games.
Five games, yeah.
Unless something drastic happens, which will give some of these upper echelon teams some rest. The veteran players will help them out. So what do we went over all this series. What stood out to you, and what are you looking forward to, this next week?
Um, like I said, and the main thing for me is uh how the Celtics are just the way they're manhandling and what they're playing, how physical they are with the Nets. I mean, that's the thing that's kind of like mind blowing to me. And again, you got Steve Nash. He hadn't made any adjustments. Again, but they do need a bona fide third scorer as well. And they got a lot of guys. They have a lot of guys that they brought in there on the bench. But again, they're not producing like they should, but they're not producing like the Nets. Of course, like they would want to. And so, with that being said, he's not being able to be the KD that everybody's grown accustomed to love. And so, with that being said, they're struggling. He's struggling. That, like I said, they're playing physical. They have a lot of bodies they can throw at them. So that's the what I'm saying, that right there is the one thing, the thing that really really sticks out to me. That this series right here, that the next going to get swept. And I thought this series would go down to the wild 6-7 games easily. But again, like you said, you just never you never really know how teams are. But again, if you just look at it, if you go back and look at how the Nets have been playing over the course of the regular season, and going back to last year, it's always been about their defense. The defense hadn't been that good. And then if you come back and look at Boston, I mean, they're top in the league. So again, you're playing against a team that's a good defense, really good defensive team, and they can score. I mean, it's going to be tough. The Nets, they can play defense. They can play a little defense, but they score a lot better, and they don't. Their focus is on offense, not defense. So and again, um, and that's what it is. It's almost kind of like when Nash, when he was playing back for D'Antoni when he was with the Suns. It was like a team where they try to score a lot of points, score a lot of score teams, but their defense wasn't really up to par. And so that's the wonder why they didn't win. Why they didn't win the championship when he was with the Suns, and probably gonna be the same reason now.
Absolutely. Hey, this is another show topic, but I still think Mike D'Antoni is the person who changed the NBA for what it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, before Mike D'Antoni, no one was shooting 3-pointers, no one was moving at that speed. Really changed the way that teams play basketball. In the last 10 to 15 years. But that's probably a topic for another show. But I'm just really looking forward to the possibility, of this Heat, Sixers series and then
Mm-hmm.
Celtics Bucks series, which we're most likely, we're going to see
Oof.
here next week.
Those definitely gonna be
Um,
some really good series though.
those are two heavyweight series. I mean, you could look up and down. Yeah, you could invent. There's pros and cons of picking either any of those 4 teams going forward. But I'm really, like I said, we got quantity here in the East right now, but we're gonna get some big quality here coming up. We do have one last thing to talk before we got, major vacancy still in the NBA coaching world, and that is who is going to be the next coach of the LA Lakers. I don't think I have any. Not much has gone forward. I think
Hey, I
here
saw
whistle maybe a Doc Rivers.
they said I heard Doc Rivers. I heard Mark Jackson. They said Mark Jackson. I seen Shaq said he'll coach him for $25 million a year for 4 years.
Yeah.
I,
I mean,
I think that's
I don't
funny.
think any. I don't think they're. Yeah, I don't. I think they're gonna wait. Towards the season being over. And then all the candidates. Um, to see who's available and who's willing to
Hmm.
come over. Um, you know, when we talk about two dysfunctional teams this year, you have the Lakers. Two not dysfunctional. Teams that didn't meet the expectations, the Nets and Lakers. I mean, I've always been a Steve Nash guy. I don't know if he's the guy to lead the Nets, but we'll see.
No, I agree with you.
But
I
it's
agree
like
with you.
also, I,
I agree with
I
you.
also think that it's going to be a special guy to put it all together for the Lakers too. Coaching matters. I see that with
Sure.
being a Mavericks
Yeah.
guy. You got to watch the Mavericks play. They only win these two games because I think like people bought into Jason Kidd's. Um, Defensive first, team camaraderie, ball movement. They never had a type of ball movement the last couple of years, and it really
Hmm.
bought in. Luka, when you saw Luka playing defense for the first time in his career consistently, that really was a moment. I'm like, okay, this team, if he's buying in, then everybody's kind of followed, So, coaching matters,
Oh yeah, it
and
does.
coaching
It
matters
does.
in your tactics, but also in the NBA, also in the NBA, as a um, former professional players being able to manage personalities and egos, in a professional
Hmm.
basketball team, um, especially the highest level, like getting people to buy in. That's just as important as the tactics you put on the court. So we'll see. And we'll get into that. We'll have more insight, I think, as the playoffs go forward. Who's filling out these teams.
Hmm.
Going forward, but. So we have another week of playoffs coming up. A lot of good games to watch and figure out what's going to happen as we move along these next 2 months. I think are very
Hmm.
entertaining here. Um, Erwin, any closing thoughts and how can people reach you?
No, I mean, like you said, I'm looking forward to to getting some of this first round and getting over with, and then moving on to the second round. There's going to be some really good games, and I can't wait to talk about it next week. Um, Social media, Facebook, Irwin Dudley, and then on Twitter, not Twitter, but Instagram is Irwin Dudley. I mean Irwin underscore Dudley 35. And then Twitter is just DUD 35.
All right, sounds good. Again, catch us on Sportscast on all our social media platforms. Again, download our show on Apple Podcasts, leave your ratings, review. Again, big week in the NFL draft coming up Thursday. Everyone will see how many of his Crimson Tide players are taken in the first round. As a
Yep,
Liberty University graduate, we will have a first round quarterback taken.
that
With
is true.
Malik Willis,
Ray Willis.
So we are very excited here up in Lynchburg about the possibilities of seeing one of our own play, every day on Sunday. So, exciting again, turn into Sportscast again, starting tomorrow afternoon at 12 o'clock with Santiago and Joey Bag of Donuts. Again, we will be back here talking NBA playoffs and giving you more of a in-depth analysis of what we think's going on in the world of professional basketball. Until then, uh, have a good night and enjoy the games.
Good night.